Welcome to the UFC 234 press conference in Melbourne, Australia. Getting you ready for the pay-per-view action down under. In the co-main event, it's old school versus new school. First to the stage, one of the most decorated fighters in UFC history, an Octagon legend and future Hall of Famer, Anderson the Spider Silva. And the former middleweight champion faces the breakthrough fighter of 2018. Kickboxing sensation, undefeated inside the Octagon, New Zealand's rising star, the last style bender, Israel Adesanya. And now to the main event of UFC 234. The UFC Middleweight Championship bout between America's stout knockout artist and Australia's superstar champion. Looking to dethrone the Aussie champion, coming off signature wins over both Jacare Souza and Michael Bisping, is 27-year-old finisher, Kelvin Gastelum. And introducing the reigning, defending UFC 185-pound champion of the world, undefeated at middleweight, riding a 9-fight win streak, Australia's own, the Reaper, Robert Whittaker.
What's up, boys? How are you? What's up, buddy? What's up, Australia? How are you? Thanks for coming out today. We appreciate it. Excited to be back here, and I'm very, very pumped for this fight. I can't wait. Who has the first question?
Start with you, if we could, Dana. Obviously, this is a very long trip for you to get down here from Vegas, and you don't get to go to every fight. So I wonder, give me the reason. Why did you decide to be here for this one?
I just landed. I literally just came straight from the airport. I wasn't going to miss this one. This is an awesome fight. I love this card. I love, obviously, the co-main and main event. And I love Australia, so I wanted to be here for this one. This thing sold out in less than 10 minutes. And I say this all the time about Australia. Every time we have a fight here, the fights are crazy and insane, and I can't wait. So, yeah. That's why I flew here from Vegas.
I heard some interviews you did this week where you said that you believe Rob is the most underrated champion in the UFC right now. I want to get you to kind of expand on that. Why do you feel he's the most underrated champion?
Listen, if you look at the fights that he's fought, this guy's good. He's very talented, and he just doesn't have that. We got to beat him over the head with a stick to get him to do media and things like that. He's just not that guy. So, eventually you keep running through people and keep winning, and he'll get the respect he deserves.
And last thing for you, Dana. You said coming in here, obviously, that Anderson is fighting for a title shot. If he wins, he will challenge for the middleweight title. Are the same stakes on the line for Mr. Adesanya as well? Does he get?
Yeah, this is for the number one contender position. This is it. This is for the number one contender spot. Yeah.
I wanted to go to Anderson, if I could, please. Anderson, it's been 2 years since you fought. Obviously, you've been doing this for a long time, but I wonder, does this feel different emotionally, nerves, anything after 2 years away, the feeling right now?
Wow, for 2 years I'm not fighting, and I have a great opportunity for back to fight in this great card, and I'm so happy. I'm so lucky.
People already consider you among the greatest of all time, if not the greatest of all time. But if you win this fight, and then you win the championship at 44 years old by the time you fight, do you think that would cement you as undeniably the greatest of all time?
It's tough to talking about that, because in UFC, all fighters is the best fighters in the world. It's not about me because when I talking about fight, people talking about you the best or something the best, it's not about the best. It's about how much you doing something special for this sport, you know? And when I fight for my opponents inside UFC, the guys help me to doing something special for everybody, you know? It's not about one guy. It's about the whole family, UFC family.
The answer to that question is yes.
And lastly, for me, I just wanted to go to Israel. This is the first time I think I've heard the promise from Dana that this is definitely a #1 contender shot for you. I think we thought it might be, but knowing that now, give me an idea, knowing the stakes of what's at hand, what's the feeling right now?
Like I said, when we had the meeting, he had other ideas. You know, after 2:30, he said, you know, I texted him straight after the fight, I want to fight this guy, and he's like, oh, pump the brakes, kids. But yeah, when we had a meeting, we talked face to face. I let him know this ain't my first rodeo. I've been doing this for a long time as well. So yeah, the cat's out the bag. So I'm about to be champion 2019.
And I'll ask you, I know you can't look past Anderson Silva, perhaps the greatest of all time, but you know, looking at the man right there to your left, this would be. I mean, I gotta imagine, you know, Rob's got a tough test as well, but is that the fight that you would like most? Because I imagine, yes, especially down here, maybe a stadium.
Of course, we're looking at Sydney, maybe Brisbane, somewhere. But first off, Melbourne. Oh, wait. What stadium do you have? Rod Laver, Etihad, where? We can do it. Talk to this guy. Talk to the boss. But first. 2, 3, 4. This weekend, Sunday, we both have big tests ahead of us. And everyone, I seen the odds this week, and I'm like, man, y'all must have forgot. Like Roy Jones said, y'all must have forgot. You don't know who that man over there is, Anderson Silva. I think a lot of you new fans weren't around during his reign, what it felt like. You might have come around the Rousey era or the McGregor era, but you don't realize who this guy is. So he brought me into this game, you know? This guy inspired me to be able to believe, like, a skinny black guy can just come in here and fuck everyone up. So he brought me into this game, and for me, it'll be an honor to take him out the game.
Question for Rob. Yesterday, the open workouts, it looked like you were focusing on boxing at range. Is that the strategy for this fight, to be the bigger man and use your size?
The strategy is just to be me. You know, I'm good at what I do, and I'm going to get in there and do what I do.
Fair enough. And for Kelvin, this isn't the first time you fought in enemy territory. Obviously, you've had some success with that in the past. But are you starting to enjoy this now, maybe enjoy being the bad guy?
I'm a bad guy. No, man. I mean, I wish it'd be in Vegas. You know, that way my family can come too. But there's a positive side to all this. You know, I get to travel the world. I get to see new places and do what I love. You know what I mean? I'm blessed to be able to do what I do. And, you know, nothing in my career has ever been given to me. Nothing in my life has ever been given to me. You know, everything I've worked for, I had to take. And here I am in Australia. I'm here to take that gold.
And the last one for me, for Anderson. Anderson, a lot of people have compared you and Israel, saying that he's maybe the next generation of you. I know you said you don't really agree with that, but what do you think of Israel? What do you think of his skills?
Wow, Israel is a great talent. They have a great future in this sport. So I'm very lucky to come here and fight for Israel in this card. You know, it's a good challenge for me, but I believe in that is the big challenge for Israel. You know, because it's not about how much Israel prove is good for fight for Anderson Silva, but how much is stay in this game for a long time.
I'm Levi from Xinhua News in China. My question is for Dana White. It seems like Oceania and the Asia-Pacific region seems to be a real hotbed of talent at the moment. Can you just tell us a little bit about what the UFC has been doing in the last few years to promote the sport and to grow the sport in China, the Asia-Pacific and Oceania?
Yeah, I mean, we're actually building a UFC Performance Institute there that's 3 times bigger than the one in Vegas. You know, we're going into Korea this year. We're going to continue to. It's all about creating talent. And I mean, if you think about our first trip over to Australia, you know what I mean? There weren't a lot of people training in mixed martial arts in Australia back in the beginning when we first came. And now you got a world champion and, you know, real talent coming out of this place and a real fan base here now. So it takes time, it takes money, and it takes effort. And we're doing the same thing, not just there, but all over the world. We're looking at doing stuff in Mexico, Puerto Rico, and many, many other places around the world. But Australia has built into an incredible market for us, you know, as far as fans and fighters.
Thank you. And I also have another question for Israel Adesanya. You have a lot of fans in China and you've spent a lot of time there. Can you tell us a little bit about how that experience shaped you as a fighter and as a person?
In China they call me 我是黑龙 so 我会说一点点中国 my Chinese was a little bit better when I was there, but it's a very if you don't use it you lose it, so maybe I should have had a Chinese girlfriend and I would have kept it along the way. But yeah, China was good for me because I was able to fight constantly, and this was 2013. I quit my job September 4th, 2013, and September 5th I was on a plane to China, and I was there for about 9 or 10 months, and within that time I just racked up fights. Like at one point I was even fighting, I think one month I fought 4 times, and that was two knockouts that month. So I was fighting, and my style is not a style that, you know, oh, let's stand and bang, bro, and I get hurt and I can't fight for like, you know, another month or another 2 months. So I fight smart. I was able to rack up fights, and that gave me a lot of experience. Even all this, China has 1 billion people, dude. At one point, I fought in a stadium that was a capacity for 60,000, but they didn't plan it right, so it was raining and drizzling a little bit, so only 40,000 showed up. But whoop-de-doo. I've been used to fighting in front of big crowds, used to people staring at me. So even just look at me in the big black guy in the mainland of China, and there's always little people like, oh, basketball. Like they kept on looking like Kobe Bryant, like they come up to you, take photos. So that kind of got me ready for all this, being stared at, being cameras in your faces, being, you know, being a superstar in a way. They built me up, and I'm grateful for the time I had there, even though they fucked me over in the end. I'm still grateful for the time I had in China, and I'll always cherish those moments. And when the UFC goes back, you know, I'll probably headline that one as well.
Thank you.
Hey guys, question for Anderson. A lot has been made of Israel Adesanya. He's spoken about how he watched you live at UFC 90 against Patrick Cote, and how he used to watch old DVDs of you and sort of study you. But when did you first see Israel Adesanya? When did he sort of first pop up on your radar as a fighter?
Wow, it's a very interesting question, you know, because I watch the videos for Israel on YouTube and say, wow, this boy have a great talent. Why not inside UFC? And 2 years ago, boom, Israel in the UFC. I'm very lucky, and wow, I'm very impressed. He's a good fighter, you know. This is guys in here is amazing fighters in this sport, you know. And when people talk, what are talking about Israel? I don't have nothing for talk, because the fight talk for fight, you know. And Israel is great. Everybody's here is the great, the champion, and this guy here close to me, you know, is all big fighters.
Because you're such a big figure in the sport, and a lot of people have watched you for so long, including Israel, he believes that he's studied you so well that he knows you better than you potentially know yourself. What do you think about an opponent potentially knowing you better than you know yourself?
Wow. You know what? Let me tell you something. This sport is very interesting because one day you stay here, you win a lot, and a lot of people talk, you the best, and change fast. Israel stood me a lot. I'm very lucky because I have a fan in here, you know, and I fight for my fan. That's great. The first time I fight for the guy, he stood me a lot, is a Chris Weidman. And the Chris Weidman stay in the belt for a couple years, but I'm very lucky because I help these guys for take your dreams. Because one day, one guy gave me opportunity for coming here and do my dream. You know, a lot of people coming here and everybody talking about fighting, beating everybody. It's not about this. It's about how much this sport is big, you know? Doesn't matter how much I stood in Israel or I stood my opponent, it's how much this sport is big.
Thank you. Obviously, when it comes to MMA, all facets of fighting are involved, but you and Israel both known primarily for your incredible striking. Do you think Israel is the best striker that you'll potentially face this weekend in your entire career? And does that sort of make you more excited because of that?
Of course, you have 4 the best striker in this table.
Just quickly for Dana White, obviously with this Melbourne crowd, a Melbourne event, a lot of people were hoping to see Dan Kelly, obviously former Olympian, great wins in the UFC against guys like Rashad Evans. A lot of people thought it'd be a slam dunk to have him on the card. Can you just sort of help us and potentially the fans understand sort of what happened there and why he didn't end up making it on this card? He wanted a final retirement fight in the UFC.
I have no clue. I wish I could answer that question for you. I have no clue.
Is there any possibility that if there was going to be another local event, that Dan Kelly might make it on the card?
Possibly, yeah.
And just last one from me for Rob. You've spoken about how sort of one of your biggest goals is to just keep developing as a fighter and just sort of be the best guy that you can be and sort of carve out your legacy as the greatest. Just wondering where sort of Kelvin fits into that legacy this weekend in terms of sort of stakes and what's on the line this weekend.
I guess fighting this weekend is just inevitable. You know, it's something that every fighter has to undergo at some point if they train and perform at the level that I do. Kelvin is next in line. He's the biggest hurdle in my way in terms of me developing myself, and he's a true test. He's going to be a true test of my character and my abilities. So, you know, I look forward to Sunday, getting out there and just testing myself against him, learning from it and growing.
Question for Dana. With the recent losses of Swedish fighters like Alexander Gustafsson and Ilir Latifi and last week David Tamer, what does the plans look like for Sweden right now?
Listen, we'll be back to Sweden.
Any time frame?
Off the top of my head, I can't give you a time frame, but absolutely. I mean, another great market for us. I mean, you know, you've been there. It's awesome.
And for Kelvin, your team on The Ultimate Fighter, you had Pani in the finals. What did you think about the final fight?
Her final fight?
Yeah, her finals against Macy Hesson.
I just think she didn't perform to her abilities. She's a lot better than what she showed that night, and you know, I think she's one of the best fighters in the world. She just needs the opportunity to display it.
And lastly, for Anderson, after the Adesanya fight, is there any interest in fighting Weidman a third time?
You know, my focus now is for this fight. I think hopefully I win this fight or not, but I think my plan is the fight in Curitiba, my city, my country, with, I don't know, my next opponent. But that's my goal.
Dana, just a question quickly. Kai Kara France on the card, a big flyweight, a big name in New Zealand, and the question pops up again and again. What's the situation with the division? Have you come to a conclusion whether it's going to be sticking around or not, the flyweight division?
Yeah, listen, we're going to probably see how this thing plays out with, you know, the 135-pound fight and whatever. But yeah, no, we haven't made any decisions on that yet.
Just a quick question, Calvin. Calvin, a lot of people sort of matchmaking Anderson versus Rob or Israel versus Rob, and I was kind of looking at your face when people were discussing those matchups. How do you feel when people aren't really bringing up, hey, Kelvin Gastelum might be the champion come Sunday?
It doesn't bother me none. People have been writing me off since I was on The Ultimate Fighter. Last pick on The Ultimate Fighter. Nobody even expected me to win a single fight, let alone beat Uriah Hall. People have been writing me off my entire career. This is not a surprise to me.
Rob, obviously Anderson described you as a special guy. How did it feel to hear a guy like Anderson say that about you? And if you could, can you sort of describe how you feel about Anderson, what he's done in the sport?
Yeah, it's certainly a great honour to be regarded like that by one of the greats. He brought the spotlight down on the division and the UFC. He's one of the best ever that there ever was, and I definitely grew up watching him as well. So to be fighting in the same card as him is pretty cool.
And I know that obviously you love fighting down here in front of your local fans, but Anderson just mentioned he'd love to fight in Brazil for his next one. If somehow he does beat Israel, would you be open to going over to Brazil and defending your title there?
You just said about people like overriding Kelvin here, and then you asked this question. The thing is, like, Kelvin's too dangerous to look past. My sights and all my attentions, all my energy is going into this fight on Sunday. And whatever will be, will be. I truly understand that fighting is 50-50, no matter what you do, no matter how you prepare. So I'm going to go in there Sunday, see what happens, and then move on from there.
A question for Rob. I understand Kelvin has predicted a first-round knockout, and I wondered what your thoughts were on that and how you sort of see the fight playing out.
Yeah, he might. He's got a good punch on him, but a lot of other people have said that, and I hit pretty hard myself. So it's a fight. We're going to go in there, we're going to throw hands, and see what happens.
Question for Dana. Great fights on this card, but it is very top heavy. Do you sometimes have trouble getting big-named American fighters to come compete in Australia?
What did you say this card was, top heavy?
So, like, the top two fights are absolutely fantastic, but some of the,
You ever heard of Crute?
Yeah, Crute's the man.
You ever heard of Jimmy Crute?
Yeah, he's great. But, some of the named fighters from overseas, is it sometimes hard to get them over to compete here?
No. Well, we don't have any trouble getting them over here. No. But, when everywhere we go all around the world, you just heard him. He's been there a million times. He grew up there. People want to fight in their home country. They, when you have a fight in the hometowns or home country, people want to fight there, and we try to get as many people in as we can, because for most of these guys, first of all, it's so hard to get in the UFC, and it's even harder to stay here. So when you get an opportunity to fight in your home country, in front of your people, in front of your hometown, we give it to them. And you're crazy. I flew from Las Vegas for this fight. I can't fucking wait for this fight, man. I've been chomping at the bits to get out here for this fight. Stay off the internet.
Dana, Henry Cejudo said yesterday that John Moraga had been cut. Can you confirm whether or not that's true? Henry Cejudo said yesterday in the press scrum that flyweight John Moraga had been cut. Can you confirm whether or not that's true?
I have no idea. Said he got cut yesterday?
Yeah, he said he received a text message from him a couple of days before.
Okay, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
And just on what you said earlier about what's next for Henry Cejudo, are we to believe that he will be competing against TJ again at bantamweight?
Don't know that either. It's not done. If that was done, we would have already announced it and there'd be a press release on it. So we haven't done it yet.
A question for Dana. The UFC, sorry, I know I'm up. All right, the UFC's been coming here pretty regularly for the last, been coming here twice a year pretty regularly. Is there any plans to come here more often, seeing as we have great fights all the time? As you
yeah, listen, I've been telling you since I walked out here how much we love Australia and the crowds and the, the fights are always incredible here. We get here as much as we can, believe me.
And how does it rank? How valuable is it to the UFC, this market in Australia, compared to something like the US or Brazil?
This is one of the top markets in the world for us. It's one of the top markets in the world for mixed martial arts. Yes, sir.
Question for Adesanya. Way to your left. Sorry, I got a computer in my lap, so I can't stand. But here, I'll put my hand up for you.
Hey, you told me earlier this week that you were really looking forward to getting in front of Anderson for the first time in person. It took a while to get you guys, in the same room. And I know it happened. The UFC captured it. It looked like it happened pretty quick, but what was it? Did it go as expected? Did you take anything away from it? How did it go?
Yeah, that was yesterday. It was pretty quick. He was in a rush, but he smelled nice. Really nice. Nice cologne on him. Put me on his Instagram live, and yeah, I don't know. It's normal.
Do you usually smell people, or it was just wafting off of him?
I'm a dog. I told you. I piss all over the cage, so it's part of my senses. Even Rob as well. When I met him, he smelled really good. I'm surprised. Like fighters should be like sweaty and shit, but not everyone likes to, dress dapper, look good, smell nice. But yeah, he was cool. I think he was just in a rush, and I was busy anyway, so yeah, whatevs.
Rob, just over here. Rob, just a question for Rob.
I can see you, mate.
Oh, yeah. So we're less than 48 hours out from the fight, and you got a pretty good reception when you walked out here. I guess it's a little bit of a taste of what you can expect on Sunday. How are the emotions? How are the feelings? The excitement levels for yourself?
Yeah, good. It's just another day in the office, really. I've done this before, but I knew the reception was going to be like this. If you've been to any other fight I've been in Australia, especially the one in Rod Laver, it's something special. So, yeah, as Australians, we love fighting. We love combat sports. We get in it. We're a very sports country. So, yeah, looking forward to Sunday. The reception's going to be big, and yeah, it's going to be a good fight.
Is that an intangible factor you can draw on during the fight that can sort of will you to the line?
Mate, I'm going to be in there giving everything I have anyway. There's enough motivation with him trying to kill me. So, yeah. But you can block the crowd out. But the Rod Laver Arena in particular, the crowd you can feel. It's something special. It's really crazy.
I'll take 2 more questions. Do you have 2 more questions?
Yeah, I had one for Anderson as well. Anderson, I remember a few years ago after you fought Nick Diaz, I remember the press conference and you were talking about your family and how they weren't sure if they wanted you to continue anymore. And I just wanted to know, after 2 years off and you're fighting a very dangerous guy, a guy who's more than 10 years younger than you, what kind of conversations do you have about your family and fighting, staying an active fighter at this point in your career?
Yeah, when I talk to my kids and my wife and all my family, it's all the same. Why? Don't do that. And I say, okay, let me tell you something. This is my life. This is me, and I need you doing something for me, because when I stop, I never come back. And this point, my family say, okay, just do it. Do it. Do it your best you can and go back safe for home, because it's not easy. Everybody here have a family, and all families here try to stay close to you and doing something for you safe, because it's the war. Inside the cage is not, everybody's not joking, and sometimes big accidents happen. I broke my leg. Sometimes you cut your face and back to home and look your family, look your kids, and everybody just looking at you and say, why you do that? And it's a passion, it's a passion. You love your job, you keep doing, And my family respect my job and respect my dreams. And that's I continue fight.
Good.
And then just one last one for Kelvin. Maybe it's just because I've been, this fight has been breaking. There's been a lot of breakdowns in it, and a lot of analysts weighing in on it, and I feel like a lot of them are saying Kelvin Gastelum has to land the big left hand. That's his chance in this fight. He's got to land the big left hand. He's got to put him down. And you yourself have even said he's going down in the first round. So are you comfortable with that? Is that an accurate description of this fight, or do you have multiple ways to win this fight on Sunday?
Yeah, I'm not banking on it. I could be wrong. But I'm ready for it. I'm ready for whatever comes my way. I have a response for everything that Rob brings.
Thank you.
One more? Is there one more question? Go ahead.
Yeah, Rob.
with family and stuff like Anderson was just talking about, how much does that come into it for you, like trying to make them proud, leave a legacy for them?
It's everything. It's everything. My family is my fuel for who I am. So for me to be who I am and be the role model I want to do and set the examples that I want to do, I need to lead by example, and I need to just do it.
All right. We'll get this stuff out of here. I'm gonna square these guys off for photo ops. Thank you so much, Australia. We appreciate it.